good so far. Anywhere you are watching all over the world, this is still your Samson or Latin on Life and Living. Today we are starting from the standpoint of a parable. The parable is about an exceedingly rich man, the richest man in the world. He acquired a massive, an expansive area of land, not being occupied by anybody. And after securing everything legally required, he wanted to travel back to where he lived. Some people just came, begged to be tenants on that land. He happily welcomed them, and he told them that because they were the first to settle on that land, they were going to be co-governors of that area with his son. The son was not there at that time. He said he was going to send his son after some years to be the governor, and they were going to be co-rulers with him. So, and that they should encourage other people to travel down to that place and settle down, that there was no taking the land from them for no reason at all, for any reason at all. So he traveled. After some years, a young man came, introducing himself as the son of that miserly rich, stinking rich man. And initially, they were skeptical as required of the principles of safety and security. But after some time, he was able to prove beyond reasonable and unreasonable doubt that he was the son of that man who was to be governor. But these people refused to acknowledge the paternity of the young man, still arguing against the obvious fact. And eventually, when they realized that he was gaining popularity among all the people that had come to settle down there, they schemed against him and killed him. When that mighty man heard what had happened to his son, he took his mighty army, went to that place, and killed all those rulers of the land that orchestrated the death of his son. Then he appointed other people to be rulers. I'm very sure you'll be thinking that, oh, those people were stupid. They should have been contented to be co-rulers. The relevance of this parable became more apparent to me a little while ago in my country, where when there was our general election. Preparatory to the election, people were campaigning, and people were campaigning for other people, arguments and counter-arguments in formal settings and in informal settings. And one thing I observed about many people arguing for certain candidates was that after being asked a lot of questions, they lost their convictions about the appropriateness of their candidates. Yet, they were hell-bent on going ahead, campaigning for those candidates, going ahead to vote for such candidates. I was appalled, asking whether they didn't know what the grievous consequences, what they were trying to do, held for them. Then I asked myself, who is a fanatic? A fanatic is somebody who has decided to continue running faster on a journey that is sure to lead to destruction, when there are other tracks that could lead to prosperity. That's what a fanatic does. When there are obvious reasons against their convictions that should have caught them, they refuse to listen to the voice of reasoning. They just want to go their way, forgetting the fact that speed is a terrible disadvantage when one is going in the wrong direction. Because the farther you have gone in the wrong path, the more tedious the exercise of retracing your step back to the right path. But in order to help ourselves, I want us to consider the fact that when other people ask us some questions, because we don't want to look stupid, we are prone to trying to rationalize the wrong thing. And that's why I want us to borrow a leaf from a song produced by Michael Jackson and Quincy Jones in the 1980s. That piece of music is titled Man in the Mirror. What we are going to do now, before we continue, I want to advise you, go to a place where there is no other person, pick a mirror, look into the mirror, look at the person you see in the mirror, whether a man or a woman. Ask him or her, are you a fanatic? And I'm sure the tendency to have a frank, a sincere answer is there. I'm talking to the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his way. And no message could be any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself, then make a change. If we want to stop being a fanatic, there are questions we have to ask ourselves. If we're able to answer those questions sincerely, then we're on the right track to killing the fanatic in us. What are the signs that will show whether I'm a fanatic or you're a fanatic or not? The first one is that the fanatic never wants to hold a discussion with anybody. The fanatic is afraid that what he believes, what he holds dearly, may be proved to be stupidity. So, no discussions. And when there are discussions, the fanatic would rather end that discussion abruptly than continue when it is clear that what he's saying has some elements of nonsense. No, it just has to end. A fanatic would always want to have the last say. But wise people who are not fanatical may have times that you say some things to them, they keep quiet. They begin to ponder what you have said. They begin to ruminate over what you have said because they have seen a gold mine, what you have submitted. But a fanatic lacks the capacity for that. A fanatic does not take a piece of advice from anybody. He is wise in his own eyes. And let me even ask you, if you look at your life and you realize that you cannot see any time that you had to change your mind on an issue, that you have to change your opinion about somebody or something, then you are most likely a fanatic. Wise men change their minds. Wise men change their opinions when superior arguments point to the fact that they have to do so. When an argument is inevitable, because there are some argumentative topics, there are some controversial topics, when an argument is inevitable, winning the argument is a do or die affair to a fanatic. Whereas a wise person does not enter into an argument to win, but to learn. That is something. And now, why must we desist from continuing as fanatics? Number one reason is that fanatics have no sincere friends. When people realize that it is 100% certain that you are not going to change your mind on anything, irrespective of the volumes of evidence against what you hold, then many people will just leave you. They won't be your friends. You can only have yes men who will say, well, he doesn't want to listen to the truth. Let's just tell him what he wants to hear. Secondly, if a fanatic has the grace of still keeping some sincere friends, those friends, despite their love for the fanatic, will be afraid to offer sincere advice. They will be afraid to, they will even be discouraged from giving guidance to the fanatic. A fanatic lacks the capacity to maximize their learning potentials. You learn by being receptive to what others are saying. Even when what they say is nonsense, somebody who is not a fanatic will be able to draw sense from the nonsense. But a fanatic cannot. If a fanatic has one formula for solving a problem and he meets somebody who has two, the one who has two will be able to gain from the fanatic and add to his formulae one to make three. But the fanatic will go back with the only one he has. Then a fanatic is a potential complete failure. Yes. There is one question that is always being asked among religious people. And that question is, why is it that children of many religious leaders turn out to be wayward? And the answer that I've always heard is that because they are at the forefront of the battle, they are war generals. Satan faces them and their children more than he faces other people. Yes, I agree with that point. It's correct. But an angle that has been rarely looked into is the fact that many religious people are fanatical. They cannot hold discussion with their children. They are afraid that what they are teaching their children might be proved to be wrong. So they impose their ideas, their religious convictions on their children. And when these children realize that daddy will never accept whatever we believe, mommy will never take a second look at how we perceive this issue, the children become hypocrites. The children will be very good at home, but when they get outside, they are at liberty to misbehave. And eventually, the misdemeanor graduates into full-blown antisocial behaviors. And before the parents realize what is happening, it's just too late for the children to change. That's one of the things. So if you are religious, being fanatical could make you a failure as far as bringing up good children is concerned. So these are reasons you just have to look critically at yourself and ask yourself and sincerely answer the question of whether you're a fanatic or not. Oh, maybe you are saying I'm not a fanatic. Yes, let me just bring this to your attention. Fanaticism occurs in every area of life endeavors. There are political fanatics, just like the ones I mentioned. There are racial fanatics. There are tribal fanatics. There are ethnic fanatics. There are linguistic fanatics. Whatever does not align with their language or their races or their ethnic background is bad. And that is fanaticism along that line. The most dangerous of them, however, are religious fanatics. You will know whether you are a religious fanatic when you cannot tolerate other people's opinions. Of course, for you to believe that your faith is the best is logical. If it's not the best, why continue in it? So you have no sin for believing that your faith is the best. Even if you think your faith is the only one that is acceptable, you are still not a fanatic. But you become a fanatic when you don't want to hear what other people have to say. So fanaticism destroys the world. Even when somebody is doing the wrong thing, those who are doing the right thing may be afraid to tell him or her because of fanaticism. So fanatics are doing a terrible disservice to our world. Being fanatical means you cannot be corrected. It means you continue in your wrong way. So I want to implore you, ask the man in the mirror, are you a fanatic? And tell him or her, don't die a fanatic. Don't be a failure. I'm talking to the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his way. And no message could be any clearer.